Hello, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to the FM show. Hope you're all well. Hope you've had a wonderful festive season. If you've been celebrating, as you can hear, I've still got the remnants of that chest infection I had before Christmas. Week 5 now, if anyone's counting, by the way. So thankfully, help is at hand to get me through today's episodes. In addition to the steroids I've been taking for my chest, thank you, the doctors. Shout out to them. The band is back together for the first time since we last spent an hour or so reeling off old Football Manager and Championship Manager legends for the Christmas episode. My word, that feels like ages ago now.
It does.
Doesn't it? So, well, you know what? Let's remind ourselves who's normally here, shall we? Let's say hello to Aaron, Steve. How are we?
Happy New Year's, and I'm doing well. Thank. I've got rid of mine, by the way. I was ill around the same time. Mine's got recovered.
To say that he's well. He's fixed that little issue first of all. Now answering on his own, and now, oh yeah, by the way, I have no infections either in my chest. Brilliant. Oh, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, whatever. Right.
Football Manager wise, so I remember last time I wasn't playing my save. Now it's sort of the same. I'm not playing my save, but I'm playing my save. So what
you are playing your save very differently, my friend.
So what's actually happened? So for those of you who don't know, I took over a team at tier 12, I believe they were, in the Football Manager, and obviously the aim is to get from the bottom to the top. And they're a local side, so we are sort of connected on Twitter. We're following each other, so we built up this sort of relationship, and then they offered us and my family down to their social event. That went well. We went out for the night out. During that night out, I kind of spoke my way in about I'm a footballer and I used to be a goalkeeper and that sort of stuff. So that's just like, obviously a bit, tipsy. So it was like, just come over to training. But it's an open session anyway, sort of thing. So I just went down. I was like, look, if you need an extra pair of hands, I can come down because I know it's Christmas period. A lot of people may not be turning up to training anyway. So I went down, and if I'm honest with you, it was a decent session for myself. It was pretty decent. So I was like, wait, what's going on there? So then again, they offered me, so now it's like, are you coming training? Do you need a lift? So I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I'm coming. And then, the managers came out. He's looking at me. So I was like, he's going to say something. He's got something to say. He's like, I'm just going to come out. I'm just going to say it out loud. Do you want a game on Saturday? I was like, yeah. So then that's what's happening. Yeah, I'm playing for the reserves. I must say, it is their reserves. The first team are playing now. And then tomorrow is the reserves.
Not now, but at time of recording.
Oh yeah, at time of recording now.
What episode is that? 26. Okay.
At the time of recording.
Aaron does not have a track record with timekeeping, let's be honest.
Yeah. When it comes to timekeeping, it's just whatever.
Anyway.
But again, I had a decent training session. It was just like, now I'm just like, you signed up because you got to sign up to play. You can't just turn up and play. You have to sign up. So it's like I signed up and it was like, oh shit, this is the team that I manage on Football Manager. So now obviously the running joke is the moment I get my first appearance, I've got to add myself back to that team, and then I'll fight for my number 1 place. I'll probably just put myself in there.
Drop SI a line, get you on that database update,
Well, this is cool, isn't it? Because you could then theoretically end up in the actual database, in the game, of course, with some actual attributes as a player that plays right now. Because my name's in the database for new gen purposes.
Wow,
that's fun.
Not for brand new official. I'm an actual footballer. Thank you very much.
I could technically have been an analyst / footballer on Football Manager if that's the case, because obviously working for the Georgian team as well, which unfortunately is done by now. But at that time, I was asked, "Do you want to be in the database?" But I was like, I don't know what it is with me. It was like they literally asked as well. It's in WhatsApp. Like, do you want to be in the database? Not from Football Manager. It was someone from the team that can get me into the database. And for me, it was just like, you know what? I need to earn my stripes sort of thing. I was like, not this update. And then basically, And the FN24 came out and it was, I didn't really, by then that ship was sold. But I could have been an FM23 as well. So
Aaron, if you do get this appearance in the first team as a sweeper keeper, right? Goalkeepers.
Sweeper keeper on attack,
Are you looking forward to being able to play with yourself?
Yeah, 100. come to that.
I didn't expect Steve to make the first double entendre of the year.
Is he having me on? Or is he serious? Like, I can't.
Someone's still got a little bit of Bailey's in their system, haven't they? Huh?
I was so nervous answering that question. Oh man, but I honestly can't wait. I can't wait to play the game, that match, and then put myself into my own save into the day.
That's cool.
Yeah, my brain was thinking more about the fact of, poor Aaron's going to be injured every couple of weeks. He's a goalkeeper.
But that's the thing, right? Again, because I don't play football, so it's always now I'm excited that I'm going to have some extra exercise as well during the week. But I just sit in my chair all day, so that after this training sessions, that I'm fine, I feel fine. The next day, oh my days, getting up in the morning, it's like, I didn't even know there was a muscle in there. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you've literally described an injury waiting to happen there.
just So every year, I remember the last session that I literally got a cramp in my leg just diving. So it was like, I'm seriously unfit. So yeah, that's where I'm at the
stretching, Aaron, some yoga. You know,
I know. Like, I do so that sort of thing. Like, I would watch it. And then I'll do it for the first 2 days. Something throws me off on the third day, and then that's just it. I'm out of the game.
So what attribute are we saying, Tony? What does that say about Aaron's, mental attributes there? That's
it says he's mental. He's a goalkeeper. Of course, he's mental.
It's bad.
I don't know. If I was to try to think of it, I would probably say reflexes, I'm guessing, would be quite good. I would say agility is probably quite decent. Anticipation, I would say, is pretty good.
Determination and work rate, less so.
Concentration,
can't be asked to train at all.
Look, see, the left side, the technical attributes, they're good. It's when it gets in the middle and the physicals is when you're. But I was like this when I was young, so like I had like trials at semi-pro team, and then I remember I came out for 1v1. You stepped on my finger. The session wasn't that bad, but I just remember it hurting the next day and the day after. I was like, I'm just not going again. That was like my mentality, but I had this thing like, I just don't know. I didn't really want to be. I wanted to be a professional footballer. That was the dream. It's when you get into like, I don't want to say on the way there because I don't feel I was on the way there. But when you start to play a higher level up, I literally started to enjoy it less, which was a bit weird. Yeah, it was like you get to a stage where people you get to a point. So I was like 16, but I'm against men's and like stepping on your toes and elbowing you and stuff every set piece, and like I don't mind it. I don't mind it, but it's just like, when you're starting to get hurt and stuff and people take it seriously, start saying mean things, it's like, this is not what I'm done.
But this is the thing. It's like you're on that path at that point for people who are desperate to make it a career, no matter what.
Yeah.
Same with comedy as well. Like, I always say that when I was full-time comedian, I enjoyed the gigs less because I wasn't going there and having fun. I was going there going, I have to do really well here to get booked back again. Like,
yeah.
Whereas then when I started doing more bits and pieces, like, like podcasts and stuff, I was then sort of able to go do a show and be like, hey, this is really fun. And like all of a sudden, hey, guess what? I'm better. Because like the pressure's off a bit. I'm not striving to do that desperately. But you know what? That is amazing. When you text me that story over the holidays, I was like, we got to talk about that. It's so much fun. And we will say as well, by the way, obviously, if you are in the situation like Aaron, where you're thinking, new year, new you, you want to start doing a bit of stretching, a bit of fitness, get yourself back on track, join the Discord. Come and all have a conversation. We'll all get fit together, right? That's what we should be doing, because as gamers, we could all do with a little bit more stretching and a bit more movement. Isn't that right, Steve?
That is, genuinely. I mean, we're not going to go there again because we've been there in previous episodes.
No. We have, but I'm saying collectively we can all help ourselves.
100% in terms of I mean, sitting at a desk all day is the thing that we all do, sort of thing, and many of the listeners and viewers, I'm sure, are the same. But stretching, all that sort of stuff helps massively. Walking every single day. I had not quite playing anywhere near the sort of level that Aaron's talking about here in terms of my weekly sort of 7-a-side thing. I've had a couple of injuries over the years, and the physio I went to did say you just need to walk. Recommend a walk religiously every single day. All good stuff. And that's a lovely start to the year for you, Aaron. In FM world, in FM land, there's also been quite a good start to the year for me, because where we left you last with Fiorentina was that 3 games left in the season.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There was a point in the season where I was 8 points behind Internazionale, and I was bit by bit chipping away at it. Game week 37, Inter draw. I'd won game week 36 and in game week 37. So penultimate round of fixtures, having been 8 points behind at one point, I overtook Inter by winning that game. My final game was against already relegated 20th place Crotone. And, you know, you can obviously guess.
There's a lot of listeners who just paused the podcast to go, how many did he get beat by?
So it was still the case that I had my lead, but I had to win.
Relegated.
Yeah, had to win. Because if Inter did win and we didn't win, they still win the title. Beat them 6-0, didn't I?
Oh.
And new in the background, because obviously I'm pretty sure every single league must do this now. Final weekend of fixtures are played simultaneously. So I was looking, the updates were coming through, or not coming through, from Inter playing Lazio, because it was 0-0, 0-0. I was like, yes. 6-0 up, absolutely cruising. Know the title is already won. 90th minute, Lazio score. 93rd minute, Lazio score. So they win 2-0. So somehow, having been at 1 point, being 8 points behind, I win the title in the penultimate game of the season. Well, actually, technically, final game of the season with a 4-point lead.
That's crazy.
Swings.
So, my boys, beautiful boys.
I hate that point tally stuff though, because I've had saves where like it felt that we were so close, and it was like the last 2 games you just fall off the wheel, and then you look at the table, it looks like you've been nowhere near first, but you've literally been fighting up until that certain point. That is why I hate looking at league titles sometimes.
Just creeping and creeping, man. Just kept, getting through.
I'm the sort of person that just doesn't. I don't look at league tables. I'll be honest with you. During the season, I just don't like looking. I hate it.
Oh, I can't help it. I'm literally every week like, okay, now what's the advantage now? What's the advantage?
Same. I'm constantly comparing myself to others, which my therapist said I shouldn't do, but I'm literally there. I'm meant to run my own race. But
I think we mentioned it before, but I just have this thing of like, then I'll start overthinking certain decisions that I shouldn't be anyway, but it's like, something might feel like a must win, because I'm looking at the points tally, like, but if I win here, I get an advantage. So then I might do something different, but then that difference might not actually be the difference maker. It might be worse for me. So
maybe you're not thinking enough, Aaron. Maybe you're not thinking enough, right? You think more. If you don't think more, you know.
So I'm the sort of person, it gets to the busy end, and then I'm like, now we have to have a look. Because there's some points it feels I'm winning. I'm like, surely I'm like 10 points ahead. Look at the table and just realize the other team winning. But that would have added pressure. That would have added pressure if I kept watching it every week, sort of thing.
Yeah, it is a constant thing of like, I think I've said this before, like you, in this particular save, AC Milan have fallen away, currently in the relegation zone this new season, 4 games in. But Inter and Juve just relentless. Yeah. Okay. Yes. 5th Scudetto for Fiorentina. There you go.
You know what? I'm a fan of that, Steve. I'm a fan. Again, it proves that long-term plan that you had to change everything up made sense. You know, you were like, look, I can do something different and it's still going to be fine. And we all said at the time, this is the right decision. And it turned out to be the right decision. In terms of Greece, I filled the listeners and the viewers in a little bit last week when we had the episode with FM Lama. But a shout out to Lama for stepping in and offering 50 new save ideas. I mean, that is like more than enough, right? And he's still got more. He's real. I was gonna say
that's probably not even half of what he's got.
It's not even. Oh man, he's literally an encyclopedia. He knows everything about everything. Like he can tell you every single football club and why that's a great idea. So we did do a bit of an update about Greece last week. If you haven't listened to the episode, what are you doing? Go back and listen to it. It was a fantastic one. We finished the season 4 just outside of the European groupings, because the Greek league breaks in half. From 6th to top is the European groups, but only the top 5 spaces get into Europe. So it was kind of a blessing and a blessing really to not be in that situation, because we'd have been playing against the top 5 and taking a bit of a battering really. But we finished 3 points away from that. So for a first season, really good. We were in the relegation group, which was kind of unfairly named, I think, because the 2 teams who were had been relegated for about 4 months leading up to that point.
Is this Super League 2 or the top division?
This is the top division, the Super League 1. The team who finished bottom finished on 8 points. Like, that's pretty, like they were done for, right? So I topped the relegation group. We did really well. We sort of got our groove on and did our pre-season planning. Expectations were to finish 5th at the start of season 5. I was like, okay, like people think we're doing all right here. You know, we obviously settled in pretty nicely. Did all of our pre-season planning, got our players in, got some good signings. We still not spent a penny, by the way. It's 5 seasons and we haven't spent a single penny in terms of signings because we haven't got the money, right? But we now have got the money, and not via, you know, a takeover or anything. Obviously, every club who's, you know, not the champions knows that you need to bring players in to then sell them on at a profit. Yeah, we've spoke about that in previous episodes. We'll speak about it in episodes going forward. I brought a player in who had been released by PAOK Salonika the season before last. He came, he hung out with us for a season. He was all right, he was fine. We brought him in for nothing. We sold him for 700 grand. Okay, now that was like, oh, okay. Bear in mind our record transfer at the club is 1.3 million out.
Oh, decent.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's literally like half of our record ever sale. So I'm like, all right, 700 grand, that's brilliant. We can put that into our wage budget and we can maybe attract another player or two. So we've got a lad in called Will Dickinson from Man City, young lad. He's come in as a free, which is quite handy. We've brought in Ronnie Edwards from Peterborough on a free, which I love. It's an amazing signing. Ball playing defender, deep line playmaker. He's there having a great time. So he's there, my almost marquee signing, really. And do you remember a couple of weeks ago when I said we were going through nations and like just trusting my own instinct on players, like looking at players going, I reckon there's something here with this guy, and I haven't scouted him fully yet. Brought a Nigerian defender in called Nwanko, okay? And brought him in for free. Didn't know too much about him. I was like, I reckon this guy's going to be all right. We turned up, we looked at him, I showed you his attributes, and everyone was just like, whoa, we've looked out here. Like, this guy's going to be decent. He had a £3 million buyout clause in his contract at the end of his first season, so season 4. We renegotiated it in the summer to take it up to 9 million because he would have been out of contract at the end of season 5. And we started our planning, and we're all fine. Pre-season's going lovely. We're winning all these games. We lost to Feyenoord and we beat Schalke, who are in the Bundesliga at this point. So our pre-season looks good.
Yeah.
Opening fixtures, Olympiakos, PAOK Salonika, and Panathinaikos.
So typical FM, man.
I feel like we're back into the last episode, Tony.
We lose one of those games. Only one. Geez. We draw the other 2. I'm like, oh, okay. And the only one we lose is Panathinaikos, right? Olympiakos, I should say. Sorry. We lost 6-0 last season. We lost 3-0 this year. And it was a dodgy penalty that set them on their way, right? So start of the season looking pretty good. Liverpool then come in with a bid for Nwanko. Okay?
Liverpool?
Yeah. He's a 19-year-old Nigerian defender at this point, not the 18-year-old we bought. He's got a buyout clause of 9 million quid. They go, hey, you know what? Here's like 4 million plus 40% of the profits, like going forward, plus a friendly and a few bits and pieces of bonuses. And I'm like, look, we're gonna have to nudge this up to at least 5 or 6 straight up front, and then of course all the other bits and bobs, and then the board will just accept it on our behalf, and we should be fine. So we nudge it up to 5 up front. The board accepts 6.5 up front. So I don't know what Liverpool have done by overspending that. It can be 5. We'll give you 6.5. I'm like, yeah, fine. Yeah, do it, right? So 6.5 million up front. They took a little bit of the monthly installments off. We then get some money when he plays 20 games. There's another £1 million. Another £1 million when he becomes an international. 40% of the transfer profits, the friendly, all that's done. And we get a loan back for a year.
Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite clause. Oh my days! So I love that clause, especially when you're in that sort of space where you're in like Greece and that loan back thing is just like
spike the ball up. I'm slam dunking this one, right? So I'm like, right, okay. We just accept. We're like straight, no worries. We pull him out of everything. He's not training. He's not allowed on the team bus. Nothing. He's not getting injured. Like, you're not scuppering this deal. Inter Milan, they're like, you reckon we can take him on trial? I'm like, no, you can't. No. So we agree to sell him. He signs on the line of that, and so we know we're not going to get the full £6 million because the club's like 1.5 million in debt. So I know the money's going to have to go in to repair the club's financial damage. I'm not banking on £6 million. I get 1.5 million to play with, which again I'm not going to spend. The club's bank balance goes up. We're like 3 million in the black now. I pull all that money back out to try and give us some bit more wages. So we're sat there with all this money now, like for us, we're like billionaires. We bring Bulat in from Dinamo Zagreb, who's like a Croatian box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah. Is that Marko?
Something like that. He's got like long shots of 14, free kicks of 18, shoots with power, blasts free kicks, like just gonna destroy the place. And then I had a little look at Nwankwo, because obviously we've got the buy-on clause, like the sell-on clause. And he's gone from free transfer, sold for £6 million. Gentlemen, take a guess of what his initial valuation was once he signed on the dotted line for a Premiership club.
I reckon it's like at least, 30. I think it's
I was going to say 22.
22. Lads, that you shouldn't be in this negotiations. £75 million was what he was valued at. I was like, we are selling that clause straight away.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because that plays on the clause that you get as well. Yeah.
So obviously we can't do it straight away. We can't cash it in. But at some point this season, I am money in the briefcase with that, running to Anfield and go, just sign it. We're pulling that out right now. How much do
you reckon you can negotiate for that sell-on clause then? Like, how much do you reckon you'll get for it?
Like, if I take 20 million quid, I'll do that. Absolutely, because
it all depends, but sometimes you do get some. I don't know how they work it out. Or, like, it just must be like a random figure sometimes, but
yeah, I mean,
you can get a decent fee for that.
I mean,
like, it could quite literally save you.
His valuation will come down because he's playing in a lower rep league naturally. Like, so it won't be 70 million quid by the time of the end of the season.
And his contract will keep on getting shorter and shorter, etc. Yeah.
And
but then if he does get the call up,
but then again, if he goes and plays for Liverpool, and then an Inter Milan comes looking, or an Arsenal, or a Real Madrid, or whatever, then you're sort of going, hey, maybe like it's that gamble, isn't it? Like, when do you cash in? So
I always cash in. I rarely wait for another team to buy it and then take that profit. When I can cash in, I'm cashing in, man. Give me that money.
Yeah,
the thing. If he's going to be the player that Liverpool suspect he is, then he's going to be worth around 70 million, right? And so you might as well, which is where you
could
think
win,
and they're not going to sell him.
How long do you wait? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They might not sell him, so how long do you wait?
And I guess in a builder nation, am I better off having the money, quote unquote, now, less money granted in the long term potentially, but it's maybe worth that risk to go, right, I'll take 20 million now rather than 50 million in 5 years' time. By which point I've already spent 50 million and it's not actually worth it. Whereas now 20 million to me would literally be like winning the lottery.
Yeah, and would you be able to upgrade your training ground, that sort of thing with that money?
So at the minute I can't improve the training facilities. I can improve the youth recruitment. I can't improve the youth facilities. The training facilities I can. They can do that. But again, all that money would just be pumped back into infrastructure. Or I'd pump it into my scouting, so I'd go world scouting rather than just scouting Greece. Because again, the benefits are clearly there for the chairman going, look, we found this lad. We can do this again. Because one lad left us and he now plays for Napoli. Like, trust me, I know what I'm doing here. And you just need that. You need the buy-in from the chairman. And if you've got some money, you're saying, look, we've proved this works, then they'll start to buy into the philosophy. So exciting times, fellas.
That's exciting.
Hello everyone, Tony here. Hope you're enjoying the episode. And if you are enjoying the episode, then maybe you might consider signing up to support us on Patreon, Aaron.
Yes. And we can't just leave it there. I think we should tell them more. What are we offering?
Okay, right. So Patreon, if you don't know what Patreon is a way of supporting the FM show as a podcast, if you can afford it. We must stress if you can afford it, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sign up, become a member of the FM show team, you can do so from as little as £3 a month. And Aaron, what are we going to give them in return?
Exclusive content, some of my favorite things, but also a Patreon shout out. We'll get some bonus episodes given to you. I believe as well you get some Discord benefits. Discord benefits. Am I right?
There's Discord benefits, absolutely. There's a little private secret channel in there where only the Patreons can talk, where they get maybe they get some heads up on things that we're going to start making in the future as well. We've started putting save files in for certain tiers. You might hear about live show tickets early doors because, you know, we've got a live show on now. We might have more in the future, and we're going to let our Patreons know about that first.
Oh, yes. And even if you're struggling a bit on Football Manager, we will be doing a monthly Q&A for FM24.
Absolutely, and there's going to be loads more stuff as well, potentially things like me and Aaron going up against each other on versus mode. It's going to be the place to be. If you can afford to support the podcast, please do. From as little as £3 a month, you can go and visit patreon.com/the FM Show Pod to become a member of the FM Show squad. Should also say as well, by the way, a massive, massive, massive shout out to all of our new Patreons who've come and joined us over the last couple of weeks. Welcome to Christian Luschel. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. Christian Luschel, Isabel, William Waitman, David Hammond, Bastian Wood, and Richard Saville. Thank you all so much for coming and being part of it. Of course, it's amazing to see so many new members of the Patreon squad. And if you want to become a member too, link, of course, in the description of the show. Today's show, obviously, is where we are going to focus on something that we think is quite important in Football Manager 24, Aaron. It's game state management.
Yes.
But before we start explaining how to use it, can you explain to all of us what we mean by the term game state management?
Well, in simple terms, there's basically like three ways you can put it. There's three, sections. So there's obviously the winning, when you're in a winning position, when you're in a drawing position, and when you're in the losing position. Obviously, that's one way you can simplify it. And then each scenario would then have like an umbrella as well. So if you're winning, it might be how do you hold on to a win, or how do you continue the pressure? Because obviously you don't want the pressure to drop off and then concede the equalising goal. So under winning, there's going to be lots of many different things. And under drawing, again, there's a similar thing, but it all depends on you. You've got to judge the scenario. If I'm Hull and I'm playing against Manchester United and I'm drawing, my game state might be different to if I'm Arsenal and drawing against Manchester United. At Arsenal, I might be trying to push for the win. At Hull, I might be trying to just stop Manchester United with their momentum, or it might be me trying to smash and grab a goal here as well, trying to get a set piece, or whatever it is. It's all about how you manage the game in little scenarios within the game.
Excellent stuff. Because something that again, we've spoken about a lot, particularly with the way that FM24 plays. I think people would be very. I think people understand now that the momentum shift is a big thing as well. So that can, of course, be partly what we're going to start talking about here now. So if we break it down, Aaron,
yes,
okay, you're going to be my eyes and ears here. Okay, you're going to break this down for me. We're going to look at things we can do. Okay, now, of course, for audio listeners, we'll try and be as descriptive as we possibly can. Everyone who's watching it on YouTube or via the video feed on Spotify, as I now believe we can do. So, if you can obviously watch it, you can see how we're getting on, how we're trying to do this. So we're going to break it down. So you've got options for adjusting your instructions, your mentality, and your shouts. I think they're going to be our three key areas to look at, Aaron. Am I right?
Yeah. So at the bottom of the screen, when you are in a match, as for those you can see on YouTube, for those who listen, at the bottom we've got a little box with your mentality where you can obviously quickly change your mentality. One big advice though, because we did talk about it as just before we press record, make sure you do press the space bar before you're trying to do any changes, because the game might actually continue while you're trying to make your changes, and something can happen while you're about to make a change. So make sure you've paused the game, and then at the bottom here you've got mentality where you can change your mentality within the game, or you can click instructions, and then your team instructions will come up in a little green box, and this is where you can make little slight changes if you know what you want to change already. And then you've got shouts as well where you can try and motivate your team and get one of the results.
And we should say with just to go through with instructions, just to sort of focus on that one for a second.
Yeah.
That is the section that in your tactics page outside the game comes up. So you've got your in possession, your in transition, your out of possession,
Yes.
where you can choose your attacking width, your approach play, tweak the discipline to which your players have a creative freedom, dribbling, your directness, all of these sort of things. This I only learned, played this game for however many years now, doing the research for this episode. Previously, I was going into tactics and subs, which is also on the bottom left-hand corner, which Aaron is just hovering over at the moment now.
Yeah.
So, saying that, really hoping that's happening.
It's
a bit like
happening.
because of the way the setup's going. Tony and I are basically like meteorologists on the television, where they have to sort of be like, and here we have an area of high pressure, just hoping that's where it actually is. That's basically what we're doing. So, tactics and subs is where I used to go. Has to load in to get there. To the right of that, and then down instructions. That's all there. As Tony and Aaron both said, do make sure you pause it. But yeah, so that instructions bit, really good. And the part of the reason why I wanted to do this topic as well is that I remember good couple of years ago in our former home, speaking with a former presenter, speaking to CJ Ramson from Sports Interactive, and his philosophy when it comes to this in-game moment is slightly tweaking of the dial rather than necessarily changing formation, that sort of thing. And so instructions is one of the places that you can do that. As you were saying, Aaron, shouts is another.
Yeah. And the shouts is more so you can kind of read the body language of your players. So when you are in the game, you've got your touchline tablet, and then you've got, again, 3 little sections where it's got your stats, possibly the opposition's formation. This is how it's looking on my screen. And then I've got a little visualizer. But of course, you can make some changes to this visualizer, and you can go to, if I remember where it is.
Are you talking about if you go to the
there
top,
we are.
you can go Torino?
There we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where I've got Sunderland stats, and then we've got general info. So I've got the players, basically general info of my players on the pitch, where it's got their goals, assist, rating, and the condition. And if I go to that drop-down menu, I've got body language. And this is where I can kind of read individual or the team's body language, and I can possibly use a shout to either motivate a few or the whole team. The whole team, if I feel performance-based, we're not basically like getting stuck in, then I could be trying to fire up my players. If I feel we're giving away too many fouls, it could just simply be a calm down shout. And these are the certain things that you can use before you make that more drastic change and go into your tactic, and then telling them to stay on their feet or tackle easier on individual players. You can always use shouts first, and if that doesn't work, then of course you've got the backup plan and go into the tactics to make that more drastic change.
Okay, there is, of course, issues with all of these options, by the way. We are going to say, like, all 3, and changing instructions, changing mentality, just shouting. All these things can have positive and negative effects, Aaron.
Yes.
I'm going to say, for example, I very rarely praise my players during a game, which I know might sound ridiculous, okay? But for some reason, my players don't seem to like me going, hey, everyone, great job. They look around and go, that's because that's my job. Like, but what they do like is me going, come on, or I'd expect more of this. And they go, he's right, we should do a little bit better here. So each individual shout, of course, you can do collective shouts at the entire team, or you can do individual key moments. To say a goalkeeper's just saved a penalty, you want to give him a bit of a, get in there.
Yeah.
Or don't worry if a defender's made a mistake. Don't worry about that. Bit of a, it's fine, clear your head, go for it.
As a question on the shouts thing, as someone who frequently, so actually 2 things on this. Number 1, as someone who intervenes probably too much sometimes. For example, when you've got a team, I'm just looking at, I don't know what you can see on Aaron's screen at the moment, guys, but default is the purple face, right? Where they're basically saying, you can see at the bottom, you hover over it. He says, hoping it does work. Does it work? You can see compose. Yeah, you click on the individual player. So the purple phase, compose. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then, you got a light green, which is motivated, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you're looking across players, and it's a combination of purple and light green, especially when the game's just started, you kind of go, okay, all I can do at this point is what I would used to do is intervene at that point and then just annoy people. So have you
You've
found
already
that,
shouted at
you've
them
gone
in the dressing room beforehand. You can't shout at them as soon as it kicks off, going, "You're doing it all wrong." That's
no, as in encourage, etc. Actually, yeah, that sort
I
of
think
thing.
that's what sometimes with Foot Manager, what happens, sometimes other people might not realize. So if you are someone that you shouts, you've got to be wary of the timings that you do it. So if you just come back from even at the start of the game or at halftime, and if you've already done your shout, so for an example, if we're gone in 0-0 against Ipswich, that's on the screen right now. I am actually the favourites to win this game. So my team talk is more, I expect you to win. Now, if I go, I've just said that, if I go now into my shouts and I encourage them, to them, they're a bit confused because you've just pumped me up, but now you're giving me a bit more, like you're just giving me encouragement, which isn't the same thing on Foot Manager, if that makes sense. Now they're a bit confused, like, what do you want? Are you trying to boost my morale, or you're telling me this is what I expect? Because I've just told you I expect to win, but in Football Manager, encourage is just basically boosting the morale up in your team. So a lot of the times your players could get a bit upset because it's a bit contradicting what you're doing. Now, if I say I expect to win, or the fans are expecting this, my shout, if I do want to use a shout, is probably demand more or fire up at this point.
What have you ever had it when you have a player who's nervous? And this actually is where you really see, because sometimes with the mentality stats, you don't really, or the little substats of doesn't perform well in big games. You kind of go, how often are you actually going to notice that as a thing? It may not put you off signing a player.
Yeah.
And this is a prime example, as I'm sure people have seen, of where this stuff really matters, because you'll see your star player, for example, or a star player for you, really nervous. Obviously, that affects their performance. You go, oh, come on, why did I not think of that?
Yeah.
What do you guys do in a situation when the player's nervous? What shout do you use?
It depends upon what stage he's nervous. So if he's nervous at the start of the game, and we're in the dressing room and we're busy going through instructions and I'm trying to set the expectations of what I think for the match. If I see that he's nervous, I'll do an individual conversation with him.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, and I'll sort of ease expectations for him. I'll be like, hey, you can make the difference. Like if I know if I know he's a good player, I'll be like, look, you can make the difference here. Or or if it's a bit reserved, I'll be like, look, hey, no pressure. No pressure, don't worry. Just play your natural game. And you want to ease those expectations there. Same as and likewise, if you've got a player who's really fired up and aggressive, you might want to calm them down because they're going to get red carded within the first 10 minutes. So you might be like, hey, I get it, you're ready to go, but just steady, right? Put a lid on it for now. Don't go doing anything stupid, right? Because we've all been there 5 minutes into the match and he's gone flying and you're like, why has he done that? And you're like, because in the dressing room he's had 3 Red Bulls. That's why.
Yeah. So this is the thing. It all depends on how you really want to approach the game. Now, there's many Football Manager players, and there's no right or wrong way that they can ignore this sort of stuff. But I remember specifically being into Milan, and one of the reasons why I'm into Milan, funny enough, is to use this player Nico Barella. But it just felt like every game he would approach the game aggressive. Like he's aggressive. My tactic already has get stuck in. And it's like, well, I'm not going to change my whole tactic because of this guy. It got to a point where it felt like you're just man. You're literally holding his hand. He's like, you're sort of, in real life, you can imagine there's that one player you're just taking that extra care of.
Nico.
He needs that. Yeah. So it was it was literally calmed up. Like the moment the game started, calmed down. And sometimes you reacted well to it and that would last for about 15 minutes. And then you have to do it again. But they will get to a point in the save where that stops happening. Obviously, he's not going to go every game in your whole save aggressive. It gets to a point where, but then that's when it feels like to you, or it felt like to me that my job's done. That's ticked off the man management box. I'm a great man management. Alex Ferguson, get away. So that's it.
If we sort of just pull this around a little bit back into game state rather than probably more, which I think we could probably argued man management at this point, right? So let's think about this then. So Aaron, in terms of your match that you've got on screen right now, you explain to us what the situation is, what point of the game are we at, what's the result, and what is sort of some interesting stats that might make us think what we need to change.
So first of all, I will have to show you the inbox because this part is fairly important. Sunderland take on Ipswich, and now the odds are for me to win the game. So I have to bear that in mind. I'm actually favourites to win this game, and that will influence on the decisions that I make during the game. So we've just gone past halftime. We're in the 46th minute, which I feel is a very good time to pause this because we're 0-0 at home. But Ipswich have had the better chances. They've had 7 shots at goal, 3 on target, XG of 1.02. So you could argue they should have scored by now with 2 half chances and a clear cut. Us, on the other hand, just had 2 shots with 1 on target, XG of 0.20. But the possession is 64% to us. Passes completed, we're on 89, they're on 86. So there's not too much difference within the passing. Possibly Ipswich are still trying to play the ball on the floor, but we're just obviously the home team. We might be overwhelming them with possession, but they are catching us on the break. They've got more high intensity sprints than us as well. So again, this is something that I might start looking at when going into my tactic.
Okay, so let's think about the natural state so far. So obviously, first of all, we'll confirm you're Sunderland at this point. Yeah.
Yes.
And what's your mentality currently set at?
So we're currently set at positive. Before the game, It told me I was the favourite, so I felt, you know what, let's just go with positive. I'm gonna lie. That's a lie. This tactic is a 4-3-3 that I was using at Crystal. I was watching Crystal Palace the other day, and I just like the way Elise and Eze was moving. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna build a tactic. Yeah. So this is what the tactic is. It's obviously not as strong at Sunderland because we are currently 0-0 against Ipswich, but we deserve to be losing at this point. So it is a 4-3-3. My whole back line is on the defensive duty. So I've got an inverted wing back, 2 ball playing defenders, and an inside full back as well. So the aim is to build with a 3 at the back and then 2 in midfield as well. So I'm expecting my inverted wing back to join Alex Neil, who's my Roman playmaker. That should make the 2. And then I've got 5 attackers with up front. So that's the aim. If I look at so in the game and you go into the tactics, you've got a little button called analysis just above your formation. You can press that, and then what will happen, it shows your average positions on the pitch. Just looking at this at the moment, I do feel there's a bit of a there's no link between my defense and midfield, it looks like. So basically my defense is sat here and the midfield like way up there. It doesn't feel like there's a good connection there. And then if there's a little button next to the analysis, and now it's show opposition analysis, and this is where you can see where the opposition's set up as well. Their number 19, Caden Jackson, is very, very attacking. He is their left winger, and he's right on my right winger. So either I'm inviting the pressure here by having my fullback on defend, or he's just one of those guys, their outlet for the counter attack. So my fullbacks are actually 2 areas. Just looking at this average position are 2 areas that I should be looking at getting. And of course, we haven't had any real shots at goal, any real created chances. I might need my fullbacks to get further forward here.
What you've done here, Aaron, is you have managed Sunderland, and this is what happens. You've literally read me at least one of the match reports from about 17 games last season. Okay, Steve, with that information you've got right there, because my brain already, I've got a few ideas as to what I would personally be doing at this point of the match. Steve, what would you be thinking? How would you be going for the win, or would you be settling for a point at home if you're the favourites?
Well, actually, this is half time, and this kind of leads in nicely because what we're going to talk about a bit later on. Actually, no, let's do this first. What Aaron has pointed to here as well is that obviously you're in this in the match situation. Yet another one of the tiny things that you can tweak rather than making drastic wholesale formation changes is that role with the fullbacks. Do you make, or any individual player more importantly, do you make, and this is where observing, you'll be seeing, what's been happening, where the chances have been or haven't been created. Have you been getting the ball where you want the ball in the middle of the park? Aaron, you're talking about having inverted wing backs, so you've put another body in that midfield, so you want to be dominating the midfield, dominating the ball. So if you haven't been doing that, is there another way that you can do that sort of thing? Do you need to, for example, get your central striker to be a deep line forward for a bit, because clearly for whatever reason you need to be picking up the ball a bit more, that sort of thing. So that's the sort of stuff I'd be thinking about. Going back to the mentality, this is one I kind of want to throw out to you guys too, actually, because sometimes we have touched this on this in previous episodes, but I'd consider mentality. But before I did that, actually, to go backwards slightly, is I'd go back to instructions again, and I'd look at my off the ball where my lines of engagement are.
Yeah.
So I might think about pushing my first line of engagement up a bit, for example, just to kind of put Ipswich under a bit of pressure. That is a thing that you can do to kind of, if you feel like you are the favourites, that you are supposedly the better team, to take the initiative of the game a bit more.
But then, as Aaron's already said, he's losing the ball in the midfield. So the gap between the defence and the striker is wide. You're then pushing them up further, and your fullbacks or wingbacks aren't getting higher up the pitch to offer support. So I'm sort of with you, Steve. I'd be thinking, like, hang on, let's have a look at my fullbacks for a second. Can at least one of them act as a wingback and go on an overlap? Like, because from how I'm expecting this setup to be, I would maybe think something like, and if you've still got like a Patrick Roberts, for example, out on the left, he would cut inside to help support the striker. So I'd be expecting the left wing back to get up and round and cover in his place and be on the overlap. Jack Clark, let him do whatever he wants out on the right, wing or on attack, just bomb forward, get chalk on your boots, and try and pull the space out, like, play a bit more aggressively that way. Get the ball to Dan Neil, let him be the playmaker in the midfield and just ping those balls. You might be on short passing. You might want to go a little bit more direct, and try and go like, let's just get this ball moving a bit quicker. Like, play for set plays. I know it can be argued it can slow play down, but sometimes if you can get the ball in the channels, and someone just takes a kick or gets a knock, the strikers try to hold it up, the defender comes, clatters them. There's some decent free kick takers in that Sunderland side, and there's some decent headers of the ball.
Yeah.
You might actually that can get you a goal early doors. Just, you might end up nicking a free kick or a header and do it that way. That gives you something, and then all of a sudden you're then changing stuff up, and Ipswich have got to think about you differently. You've got players now in different positions. That's how I'd maybe be looking at it.
Yeah, because doing that is actually something minute. Which one of the things I love about this game, generally speaking, is you've got 22 items, 22 pieces on the board, basically, as a game, right? And it's this sort of system, isn't it, where like you change something, and it can be very small, and if it's clever and calculated enough, it can make that difference. So those things,
it's the butterfly effect. It's a complete butterfly chaos theory, I think, as well, isn't it? Like, you change one thing and everything else changes completely around it.
Yeah. You influence the system, as they call it. I've been reading a book about physics by Jim Al-Khalili, who's brilliant science communicator. That's one of the things I have been doing with having a break for Football Manager, learning about physics. You change the system. Anyway, that's not the physics podcast is one I'm not qualified to do. So
join us on Patreon for
how out of his depth can Steve seem? Yes. But the thing we're going back to mentality slightly, and again, so I'll ask slightly a question to you guys. The obvious thing is you look at your mentality. So just again, where Aaron's on the bottom left-hand corner, you've got your mentality. It's a pop-up menu. Gives you your very defensive, cautious, balanced, positive, attacking, etc. You can see, I don't need to read for you, but audio listeners will also sort of, maybe you've got the game open in front of you. You can see what I mean.
Yeah.
From where Aaron was on positive, the obvious temptation is to go attacking.
Yeah.
However, correct me if I'm wrong here, Aaron, but you're sort of, whether it's vertical tick attacker or custom or control possession, etc., you're a ball-orientated side, right? That's the type of football you're trying to play.
Yeah.
I've noticed, I don't know if you guys think the same, that when you put attacking on, sometimes your players rush it. Yeah. And actually, counterintuitively, it's not the right thing to do.
Exactly that. Now, I was gonna speak on that a little bit. That would have been my answer to what I was gonna get at when it comes to what changes will I make and what changes I am gonna make. Is I was gonna say that a lot of people listening might say, I would just go to attacking mentality. You haven't had enough shots at goal, whatever. Just play more attacking. But that could have the opposite effect. And what you can do if you do want to go more attacking is literally just change players' duties and their roles to make them a bit more attacking, and that will start changing their starting position and their risk taking individually rather than the whole team just start going further forward and bombing. Because though Ipswich are deserving to win, we're not a complete shambles here. We're not a complete shambles, so we don't need to be changing the whole system completely. It's, look, one or two people do need to make a tweak. Now, when it comes to the changes that I will make, I have noticed this is the first game of the season. Looking at the left back, Kirchin, yeah. His player traits gets further forward. That's his only player trait, and I feel I'm doing him a disservice by having him on defense. And I mentioned earlier, I do want to get some bodies further forward. The team aren't completely, familiar with my tactic at the moment as well. So with Sirkin, I am going to make him an inverted wing back, on support. And then with Trey Hume, I'll possibly make him a fullback on support. Just those two little changes have already made my team a slightly more attacking side. Now, a last change that I would do when it comes to player roles and duties is my Mazzala. I will get him on attack to try and get him further forward into the game. Again, looking at the analysis, he is slightly deeper than the box-to-box midfielder that I do want my Mazzala to be more attacking minded now and making runs off our pressing forward who's on support. So he's going to be holding up the ball. We've got 2 inside forwards running in as well. I might try and throw an extra body in there to try and get another body forward without changing obviously too much. And then the last change I'm actually going to do here now to balance all of those changes that I've just made is drop my mentality down to balance. Though it does sound a bit crazy that I've just dropped my mentality, but I do want to get hold of the game and get hold of the game in the right way, in my way. Now, in my head, if I can control the game at this state, that allows my fullbacks to get forward at timely moments, both fullbacks and my centre midfielder that I've just changed now onto attacking.
Aaron, you've took the words out of my mouth, man. Because you're right. You're right, and you've explained it 100% the way that 99% of people's brains will work. I need to get the ball forward. I'm going to go attacking. You don't always go attacking because that's all that does is that's players playing risky passes when they're not meant to. Right? Yeah. You can drop it back down to balanced and be more attacking than if you're on positive because your roles are more attacking. And balanced on FM24, it's just, when it works, it's a joy to watch.
It is.
Because you've got the right players making the right runs, the right passes, making the right decisions at the right time. Or honestly, your opposition don't know what they're going to be doing at that point. So should we start rolling it through? Let's see how we get on with this thing. Because I'm expecting Trey Hume to go flying in with a big tackle.
We are in the middle of a highlight as well, so I'm hoping that they don't score. We don't score from this highlight. It is a corner as well. They've just headed it out. I'm hoping they don't score from this because that will just make those changes pretty much useless. Well, not really, because we still got the rest of the game to play as well. So
it's worth remembering as well, by the way, everyone who's listening. Every single touch you make changes something.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're trying to make a shout and a change, so you make a change.
Oh yeah. So what I was going to say now, I'm also going to use a shout as well. So like I said earlier, we are the home side. We are expecting to win. So I'm just going to put them on more as well for those who are listening and can't see what we're doing.
So sorry, Aaron, to Tony's point, would you do both at the same time then? It kind of sounds like you would do both at the same time, or would you kind of try the shout, then try the tactic change, or, which rather than
I will do both at the same. Yeah, I tend to do both at the same time. Oh, here's Ipswich. Ipswich have just gone 1-0 up. They have scored from a corner. So it is Sam Morsey from a corner, and things aren't looking great at Ipswich. But
RDF out.
Since we have made that change, other than them just scoring there, they haven't had a shot. And the momentum has... Oh, they've got another corner now as well. The momentum did swing for us. There's Burgers. Hey, Patterson collects it. Let's go forward now, boys. No panic stations. Now, I would say no pressure, but I did just have a shout out as well. So having two complete opposite ones back-to-back might be a bit confusing.
Where are you sending the ball out to? Where are you distributing?
He went straight to the centre-back, I believe. So I think that's what I've got on to my centre-back. Bradley Dack has just hit the woodwork. Of course he has. Of course he has.
Because again, you can change this all mid-game. Like, say, for example, where Aaron's gone now and he's got his wing-backs are getting forward a little bit more. If, for example, you're looking at the opposition, then there's maybe like a sort of a battle that you can get there. Maybe their wing backs are getting forward, but you've got 2 against 1. You might want to ping the ball out to the wings, and maybe like rather than going through the middle or playing out from the back, and just you look at these little moments that pop up. And
you just hit the bar again. I can't. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not happy, but I'm happy that you guys are actually seeing this. And now it's not like this is first game of the season. We've just smashed the woodwork twice already here. But
would you say then, obviously the score, and I mean set pieces are a whole other conversation in terms of defending and attacking, but would you say in terms of the stats that people can see on the screen, and that Aaron will explain to the audio listeners in a second, have the changes that we made a positive effect, even though a goal hasn't yet been forthcoming?
Oh, please, for sure. Yes. So now we've got our shots are now 10 apiece. They were at 7 or 8. and now it's at 10 apiece. We've got now shots on target, and our XG is just right behind us. So now we've stepped over that 1.0 mark. Again, at the time we made these changes, I think it was at like 0.2 or whatever it was. We've had hit the woodwork twice, and we've created 2 more half chances at goal as well. So we have done.
How many minutes are we in now?
We're in the 80th minute, so we can make a change.
This is the point when people then start going, "I'm throwing everything now," isn't it? And like,
yes,
this is because this, I guess, is where we're into that. So this, of course, right now is game state. Yeah.
Yes.
We were 0-0. We pushed to try and get 3 points. We've gone a goal down. We're now going to have to try and push to salvage something from this game, or if we get something, we can then maybe play the crowd and maybe we can still get 3 points. So the point I made before about every time you touch something changes, and it's like that butterfly effect chaos theory. Is there an argument at this point, Aaron? And I know people sometimes, because I'm guilty of this whenever I'm streaming. Sometimes I'm that confident in the way that we're playing, despite the fact we're losing, I would sit and not make a change because I go, we are going to get a goal here. We're going to get something. And I know that whatever I change might actually undo the momentum that I'm building up here. Like Ipswich will buckle eventually, like the way that I'm playing. Like, but of course, that everything inside just going, I need to change. I need everybody forward right now because you don't trust yourself. Like, where's your head at this moment right now?
Yeah, so like you said, like if in a normal save where I know my team, I know the tactic and the players, like I've had so many people just banging on to change, and I'm like, I know my team, man. The other team are gonna buckle up at some point because sometimes it's just, it could be not your day as well. Like you could just have shots, you could be peppering, the other goalkeeper could be having a fantastic day, or you just don't have your shooting boots and you're just hitting the target, not hitting the target, I should say. So in the actual save, but when you are getting to know your squad, I think you do, well, me specifically, I do make changes because I'm trying to get to know them. I'm trying to push the limits and see where I can go when it comes to the changes, like how far or how much do I have to push these players to try and get a result in this game. So right now, I am thinking to make a change. Now, originally in the tactic, I had play out from the back, but now I'm just going to remove that. Again, that is a sort of an instruction that I would advise to use once you are familiar again with the team. The players are familiar with each other as well, because that's what it takes to play out from the back. You've got to know sort of each other's games. You've got to be familiar with each other. Otherwise, play out from the back could be calamitous. But I am going to remove that because I also think it slows down the play a little bit. And for passing directness, I am just going to boost that up slightly to the middle now.
Which I was going to say, and it kind of ties in what we said before about if you take play out from the back off and go a bit more direct, you're actually going attacking, despite the fact you're on positive or balanced mentality. That's how you can make that happen without just clicking attacking straight away. Because you can be attacking and still play out from the back. Well, that's counterintuitive. That's not going to work.
That's the thing. Like you can use that player out from the back instruction with an attacking mentality, but when your defenders do have the ball, or even your goalkeeper, sometimes he's just going to look for that more direct approach because that's what attacking wants to do. He wants to get the ball from A to B fairly quickly. And sometimes your players will just take that more direct option.
Okay. So what else have we got then at this point? Is that we're just taking that option off and we're going to try and roll the last 10 minutes?
Yeah, so that's what I've done. I've removed play out from the back. I've shifted my passing directness up one more. And I've also made my striker now attacking as well instead of support. So now
how wide are you playing? Are you playing wide?
See, that's narrow? Unfairly narrow. And now you could change that. In my head now, it's like, have I got too many changes? Like sort of thing.
Exactly.
That's the sort of thing you get. So yeah, we're just going to change it as well. Let's go back to fairly wide because you are trying to.
So remind us again, what time are we on? What's the scenario that in this?
There's 10 minutes left
to go.
So it's kind of throw the kitchen sink,
Plus time added on, so there's about 47 minutes left in this game.
The way the game's going, though, it does feel like if there was an extra 10 minutes, we could have grabbed the equaliser and possibly winning the game as it was happening. But there's obviously not 20 minutes left. There's only 10 because we have caught up and they did score. I mean, when you will watch it back, it's sort of a lucky goal. They just had a throw in.
Have we got any game changers on the bench? Can we mix it with personnel or?
Oh, I mean, we've got Pritchard on the bench, you know.
Pritchard, he'll put a shift in.
Killer balls, he's got killer balls in. So we're gonna take Ekwai. He's on the yellow card as well. When it comes to
Ekbal's got a
fullbacks,
bit more defensive, so again, you're switching up with a more attacking player.
yeah, exactly. And then Pembele as well. He's a centre back / right back, but we're gonna put him at right back because our current right back is not that attacking. To be fair, he is there because he did suit that initial role of inside fullback on defend. He did suit that role. So now we're gonna go with Pembele, who likes to run with the ball down the right hand side. So there's two changes that we have made. Let's go.
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Sounds like my little one.
What's happening, Aaron?
Game's kicked off. No highlights of it. The momentum chart just looks absolutely insane, to be honest. But there's no highlights have happened, and the game has ended. The points do belong. There was literally no highlights as well. So that's what the sort of thing that we said earlier as well. Sometimes just always going more attacking isn't always the answer. Because when we did make that switch, we didn't have a shot or anything. It was only Ipswich in that game. But up till then, it was just all Sunderland. So I feel that our initial changes, it's hard to say that it did work because they did score about 5 minutes after those changes. But those initial, if you can see their XG match story as well, once we did that, make those changes, that we did start to pull apart performance-wise from Ipswich. They just got there, basically smash and grab goal. And then again, when we went more attacking, for the last 10 minutes, we lost control, but it felt like, and then Ipswich would be able to gain more control.
Is that a good example? Is that maybe the 80th minute is too late to make those sort of changes? You should do it a bit.
It could be too late
earlier in the game.
There's two things. It could have been too late. 75th minute might have been the ideal time, but also the amount of changes that we did make as well, because we have initially made changes at halftime, and then to make more changes again around the 80th minute, again because we did try to get more control, and then we basically lost all control again, making changes.
I guess as well, when you're making role changes, sometimes you're almost playing into the hands of the opposition as well. Like, if you switch a role up, well, actually, that suits their style of play. Like, you're actually playing into their hands sort of thing. And we don't know what changes the AI is making to counteract that as well. Like, they may have sort of went, well, you know what? If they're getting a Mazzala on attack, well, we'll just make our ball-winning defender sit a bit deep with our DM, and you've got nowhere to run now. Like, we'll be compact at this point. So, every action is an equal and opposite reaction, apparently, and we've proven right now on screen that we are not as good at this game as we said we were. So.
I am looking for a momentum thing. That sometimes the momentum thing is sort of a good. There we are. Overall match momentum. That's sometimes can be a good indication of how things are going. So you can see here, initially, the original tactic in the first half where we did nothing, it started with Ipswich, but then once we got control of the ball, it seemed like it was just all Sunderland. And in the second half, the start where we didn't make any immediate changes, and then we did have a corner as well, but it was momentum Ipswich. Then we made our changes. Then they scored, but it was just Sunderland after all of that. And then we made our changes again in the last minute. And like I said, it felt like we lost control, and it probably felt like that because that's exactly what happened, and it reads that in the match momentum as well. When we made those changes again is when we lost we lost control again, and then towards possibly the last couple of minutes we started to get the ball back again. But after those changes, we did have control of the game, and then in the game you did see the stats. Well, stats ain't everything, but we did create more chances going further forward. So we did get not the result. Sort of the performance that we wanted, we didn't get the result. And then their goal did come from a throw-in, far post, and they scored. Crossbarring in out of all goals to score. Crossbarring in. Well, we did, again, we hit the woodwork twice, so you could say a little bit of unluck, you could say.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. For an experiment A, let's say that's done, right? We're going to make sure this works, right? Next week, we're going to do it again, right? But we're going to set ourselves a challenge where we're losing from the start.
Yeah, but I think...
Actually, let's we'll work the scenario next week. We'll work how we get, right? Because the idea was we were meant to be winning this week. So let's have a little think again. But we will definitely do more of that next week.
I was going to say, even with it failing, it's still a good lesson anyway, especially for me, like what could I have done differently? But those who are watching or those who are listening, for the correspondent, what would you have done in that moment? Would it have been similar? Would you have just gone for that straight, just go more attacking sort of thing with the mentality? Because though we do advise that maybe you don't have to change the mentality that can also work. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this thing, especially when it comes to your system. I don't know your system. It's good to know your system, because sometimes a mentality change can make a difference, or it might not. It might just need to be that your inverted winger needs to be on attack, and then your right back on the opposite flank needs to be on attack as well. And that can just get certain players further forward.
Exactly. So there we have it. Get in touch. Hopefully that makes a lot more sense to all of you, as I hope it does to us as well. If you've got any further questions on this matter or any other matter, of course, you know the Discord is open 24 hours. Get yourself joined. Come and have those conversations in there. Steve, other places that, of course, they can get in touch with us include social media. And hey, do you remember that mailbag we've got? We can have a little look into some bits and pieces of correspondence now. But Aaron, I'm going to come to you first of all. YouTube comments. That's where you like living, isn't it?
We've got Adam, the Architect, 7195 on YouTube. Tony's intro with the Manscaped holiday-themed innuendos was the earliest sign of this being the best episode yet.
I did like the yet, because you never know how good your next episode is going to be, and the one after, and the one after, and the one after. So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah, God, there was a mucky start with this one, Steve, wasn't it? Graham McGraw also joins us on YouTube comments, making basically responding to me being unaware of who played for Burnley. Of course, in the Christmas episode, I accused João Moutinho of playing for Burnley, when what I meant was Stephen Defoe. And I think accused is a fair comment in this.
You were really certain, weren't you? It was probably like doubling down on, no, it's definitely João Moutinho.
Definitely. Who am I thinking of? Stephen Defoe. That's what I said. That's what I meant. I've got previous for this, so yeah. But thank you, Graham, for mentioning you're thinking of Belgian to Stephen Defoe. The Burnley managed to sign. Sir Alex Ferguson was apparently a big fan of him in real world football and wrote him a message when he got injured. So that's very nice, isn't it? Presumably it was a kind message.
That, wasn't he?
Was he?
He was a big fan.
Yeah, he sent it to Wolverhampton, but it didn't get there because obviously he was never there.
Dear João Moutinho.
Dear Burnley, João Moutinho. Anyway, continuing on the YouTube comments, we have Grizzywald. Now, they've messaged in relation to something Llama spoke about in the last episode, which you can go back to on the various places. You know where they are by now. And one of the 50-odd save ideas that Llama suggested revolved around railway teams, the Railway Challenge. So Grizzywald added to this and said railway clubs in South America include Peñarol in Uruguay, who were formed as the Central Uruguay Railway Cricket Club in 1891. Now that's interesting too, because like lots of sporting clubs around different countries do it in different ways, right? In other Western European countries, for example, Barcelona also has a basketball team as well as the football team. They're all part of the same thing. Germany, very similar too. And back in the 19th century, that was quite similar in England as well, which is why you'll see some association football clubs to this day still have rugby in their name, for example, because rugby football, it's all part of the same game, all the same origin. Anyway, in Peñarol in Uruguay, it was cricket. So Peñarol, their first club president, was a diasporan Scot born in London called Frank Henderson, who was not a railwayman as such, but an accountant, I'm assuming, for a railway team, a railway company.
I think he just liked trains.
Yeah, who doesn't? I used to love trains as a kid. Loved them. Thomas Tank Engine, legend. I could probably still name a bit in the same way I could probably name an embarrassing number of the first generation Pokemon. I can probably name a good amount of...
My first thought there was, basically because all I've done today is mention science, right? So, how I'd mention science. No, how I'd mention Pokemon. All right, Steve.
I just wanted to, I raised the tone far too high for a second, so I wanted to drag it back down a bit. But also, additionally, not just Pokemon, the trains in Thomas Tank Engine, original sort of era rather than more recently. Anyway, so the president, Frank Henderson, who was an accountant, not a railwayman, but was the president of the railway club Peñarol back in 1891. Peñarol won the first ever Copa Libertadores. So the equivalent of the South American Champions League, basically. So they were the first ever pan-South American champions, which would be very hard for them to emulate now. So there you go. That's an interesting railway club challenge that you might want to pursue. Beyond that, and another temptation with saving, Den Outlander knows exactly
he's got a fishing rod on you, Eddie.
how to lure me in, because he's mentioned a save in Italy, of course. So Den Outlander, again, in relation to our sort of our massive nostalgic episode that we did, which again you can go find further back down the feeds. If you want a good 90s throwback in Italy, Foggia, Foggia, Foggia is a great shout, because Zdeněk Zeman, legendary manager in Italy, had an ironic
He had an ironic period.
an iconic period playing there. He managed ironically, which actually might be quite, what's the word? Apt. Now, anyway, I'm going to tell you something about Zdeněk Zeman.
Personality type, just ironic.
He was anyway. And actually, Zdeněk Zeman's current club is also quite hipster as well, really, because he's currently at Pescara in Serie C, who have got a lovely crest with a dolphin on it. Pescara Calcio.
Didn't Zeman manage Foggia like 4 times or something?
He certainly, according to our friends at Wikipedia, won Serie B twice with them. I think that's the success that Den Outlander is referring to. Just going through, Foggia 1, Foggia 2, Foggia 3, Foggia 4, 4 times. Cagliari,
Pescara as well for 3 times.
Yes. There you go. He's also done Lazio, Roma, Napoli, Fenerbahce. Went to Turkey for a bit, had a break. Restal Belgrade, Roma again, so Roma twice, and actually got the best out of it. Was sort of a bit of a Francesco Totti whisperer from memory as well. So, anyway, Foggia, Serie B.
I was just laughing because I saw that. I saw the correspondence thing earlier, and I was like, I'm hoping they don't get me to type to say this, because I was gonna struggle on Zeman's pronunciation. But in my head, I was already reading. I was like practicing. I was like, Foggia. And then he said Foggia. That's what I was laughing.
You were struggling at the wrong bit.
I was laughing so hard at the beginning. Like, when he first started reading, he said Foggia. I was like, oh, phew.
No, that's just what you described as the weather changing there, Aaron. That's,
if you want a good 90s throwback in Italy, Foggia with Zdeněk Zeman. I think I've nailed that.
Like the Foggia pictures didn't even cross my mind. It was only the name. I was just, oh my days, wow.
Yeah, no, that team got it. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
I love it. Foggia convinced Zdeněk. He was fine with that bit as well. Is it Zeman? Is it Zeman? Is it
Zeman? I even went on Google to type in the pronunciation and everything.
Well, you tried, and we appreciate that, Aaron. Nothing else. Well, anyway, Den Outlander. Truly, thank you for that. Good suggestion. It's also looking through Zeman's career of clubs as well. There's loads of ideas there. So just to be clear, Foggia are currently in Serie C, Serie C, not Serie B. So actually puts his success into context there. It doesn't get them promoted to Serie A by winning the Serie B titles. Anyway, if those things aren't enough in terms of the various correspondence that you can get to the show on, you can join us on the Discord, which is a great place to sort of hang out and discuss FM ideas. We've got various like subsections there, whether it's general FM chat, real life football chat, different feature ideas. For example, if you've got a search for a star you want to search for, you can put it in there. If you've got a tactics garage you want, probably Aaron, let's be truthful, to look at, you can do that as well. And Tony, to his credit, which we'll reveal at some point in the next few episodes, has come up with a very good new feature idea that we're going to try at some point soon. So more on that as and when we get to it. Who knows when that will be. Anyway, that is, and the link for the Discord is in the description below, and will be in the episode description if you're consuming this as an audio bit of content. If that is not enough, Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics, what else can our wonderful listeners and viewers do?
Make sure I get the pronunciations correct here. they can sign up to our Patreon, where you get exclusive bonus content. I almost said excluding. Now, that wouldn't have been a good thing, but they can sign up.
Excluding all of these people.
They can sign up to our
That was great
Patreon
content.
where you get,
None of this.
where you will get exclusive bonus content, including an extra episode a week. We've got episodes with Second Yellow Card, FM Girl, Freddie Quinn. Thank you for, I think someone changed the writing to that, the spelling to make sure I get the pronunciation right. From Dead Man Talking is up next week. Plus, there's a Christmas special with myself, Tony, Dupe, and Breezy. You get early access to these public episodes every week. Discord benefits, advance notice on live show tickets. Seriously, from as little as £3 a month, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. To sign up, simply go to www. To sign up, simply go to www.patreon.com/the FM Show pod to become a member of the squad. That's www.patreon.com/the FM Show pod.
And that was episode 26 of the FM Show, hosted by myself, Tony Jameson. Our co-host was Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics, also known as Mr. Keeper. Our producer is producer Steve Hankey. Take care of yourselves. See you all soon on the next one. Bye for now.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.